I'm not getting the audio coming through on my Sunflower, so let me recheck the share again. I did check the share sound, and let me just try that again.
There is no sound there.
Let me see. Can you hear that sound? Okay, we'll try that again then.
You are people listening from every corner of this planet. No knowledge has been dispersed so beautifully, so balanced across the planet, on this planet ever, maybe in the universe. You have the full potential of achieving everything in the universe. There is no need and there is no reason for man not to achieve. So, wherever you are, the way I taught you to make the coils double coil inside, you have continuous equal gravitational magnetic field, and if you put CO2 on it, and you put zinc on it, you have connected the emotion of the man to it on a stable condition, and you'll find out you become a very peaceful man. Here, instead of having galaxies and universes and creating connection magnetically, we have used the matter state gravitational magnetic field strength to dominate and dictate the shape of the plasma. The nanotechnology, the nanomaterial which you have collectively developed in different ways, by caustic, by electric currents, by whatever, fire or whatever, has that advantage that the matter, the nano and the plasma is all the same. So connection is very solid, it's very strong. The power of the plasma technology, the way we have thought, is beyond imagination of the man. Now you can create and control the plasma, which is the mother of the creation of the universe. You are given the seed of the essence of the creation. The foundation does not belong to no one and is not made of one anymore. You are developing it, you are structuring it, and from today we will be still the same. We'll still develop the technology in different names, in different colors, in different nationalities which they do not exist. It is beautiful when we see the Christian, the Muslims, the Jews, and every other belief are working together to build up systems. We have already become one faith. We already have become one nation, and we already become one planet. You got to remember one thing. Dates is irrelevant. Today is the last day of the Christian calendar, or tomorrow is the beginning of another. One day is connected to another. We don't stop. We are working around the clock. The Keshe Foundation team is working irrespective of time, position, religion, country. And now we achieve what we set out for.
You're invited to partake in the creation of humanity's first Universal Community Council on April 21st and 22nd, 2016 in Dubai at the One Planet, One Nation, One Race Conference. World leaders and prominent business persons have been invited to attend. However, representatives of the Council will be selected irrespective of language, race, creed, or position in life. The Council will have many responsibilities. It will support the people of humanity and their governments. It will help bring balance across the globe and unite humanity for the benefit of all mankind. It will act as a bridge between humanity and the universal community. The cost of admission to the conference is €750, which includes one seat in the main conference room and 3-night stay in one of Dubai's prestigious hotels, 2 persons per room. Discount airfares are also available. The One Planet, One Nation, One Race Conference. You're invited. We hope to see you there.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the 11th International Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Institute. We'll be here today with Mr. Kesh of the Kesh Foundation and hearing about the latest in the international scene for the Kesh Foundation. And I think Mr. Kesh is he ready to go now, Vince? Do we have him lined up now? Okay.
Am I online?
Ah, I hear a familiar voice, Mr. Kesh.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, as usual, wherever you listen to these teachings. Have you got your camera on?
We've got just the screen sharing right now.
Yes. Fabio, can you change? Yeah. As we usually say, welcome to the teachings, the public teachings of Kesh Foundation. We are back in Valletta. We have done our job in what you call Dubai. We are here for a few days, few weeks, and then we go back to Dubai for the conference and then on to other locations. As we said, it's not important how and the way we teach, but how you understand the teaching. I see a lot of development in the past few weeks while we've been away from here, from home. As we know, Italy is our home base, so we come back home whenever we finish in one destination to the next one. And it brings a lot of knowledge and the strength to see how the development of the technology has taken shape, especially in the past few weeks. We are on the verge of the second and the third manufacturing companies around the world to come into operation, and at the same time we are on the path for teaching centers. As you know, last Sunday the Italian teaching started with Giovanni here, and now we go to the Chinese, and I hear German and the Spanish are online. And if any other nationality and language you want to teach, collaborate with the foundation. We give you the platform to teach in your language. Today, as usually, Tuesdays is the International Teaching Day. We look to see if there are any developments in other nationalities and other countries. And is there anything for us today, Vince or Rick? Have you set anything up? Do we have anything to show?
There were a couple of things that we had in place. We have Klaus that can show his health unit.
Who?
Klaus from
Klaus from Germany. From
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yes.
And we have we had a meter reading from Abby Joe that has from the golden age of GAN, showing a reduction in her maggrav and so on. We have Peter, who's got a project he's working on. He wanted to show his progress in that. There may be others that are willing to contribute here as well.
Okay, let's see what Klaus done, and then we go to some teaching. Would you
Okay.
like to share these first? Do the video, what do you call it, from the golden age of GAN's entry.
Okay, let me get that lined up.
Pardon?
Let me get that lined up here. Have it as a.
Okay. And then, as you know, if you set up any chat room or lines of discussion about plasma GAN's technology and maggrav technology, which is partial, is very impartial, and actually shows the whole structure, how and the way you develop for people around the world, develop different aspects of the technology. We support you. We give you a platform to share the views and the knowledge. And Golden Age of Cancer is one of the platforms which we support, because they release information as it becomes, as people see they like to be known, not necessarily on a catchment forum. So I think this is one of the entries on the Golden Age of GANs. Would you like to share it?
Yes,
or
that's correct. Yes, just a second here. Like that. Okay.
you have?
Shows all my Facebook and groups and so on, but that's the only way we can show these Facebook things.
We don't see it on the Zoom yet.
I shared it on the Zoom.
See it on live stream, I presume, and Zoom.
Is it not on Zoom now? It shows.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to write this, please? Read it for us.
Sure. Okay, so this is from Abby Jo Ovitsky, and she says the meter reading today after 18 days of connecting a working maggrav shows a total of 46.7% reduction in consumption of grid power compared with the February-March of 2015. Source: my meter, my photograph, my electric bill. Today's reading is 42,704, and 10 days ago was 42,518. This time last year, I consumed 34.9 kilowatt hours per day on average. In the last 10 days, I consumed 18.6 kilowatt hours per day on average, 46.7% less. Feel free to check my maths. And she shows a picture of her setup here and so on. There's various comments about that. She also mentions it's 5 degrees colder this year than last year. So she's actually using more heat, but at less kilowatt hours per day. And
Just wait one sec. Just wait there. There's an Carlos Letzer. It says, interesting, I had 9.3 kilowatt a day. Now 2 maggrav running at about 6.7 kilowatt. But in Germany, I have the 3 phases, and so I'll have to build a 3rd maggrav.
there's a series of comments after that as well, I see, after I expanded it out. It's a different class, it's mentioned here and so on, than the other class.
Yeah, but we are running now two direction. It's okay if you want to take it off. I can give it some information.
All right, good, thank you.
Yeah, we are running now two systems around the world. One system is installed 2 units in a school, a very large school, and we have seen this school has a huge chillers, what we call air conditioning on it. We have seen the first month something around 20% reduction with two small units in the whole of the school with very large air cores. Consumption now is about 580 kilowatt per day, and they have reduced by 20%. The 20% with a total of the school days and holidays. It has, according to the accountant of the school, saved them €30,000 in the last month. Just two, what do you call it, two fans. Two fans has been connected. I have to explain to you because apparently it's causing a lot of problem with a lot of people, is that when you receive your MagRav units, you set it up to condition. The new MagRav units, you don't need to set to condition anymore. You can just plug it into the main and connect it to a 500 watt, what do you call it, load. You don't need to reset the new MagRav systems anymore. You don't need that 20 days, 21 days of resetting. You can literally, the minute you receive it, plug it in and add 500 watts, no more than 500 watt load, and your system will start working from that day on. You don't need to condition anymore. The original system we did because we collectively were working on it, we allowed a lot of people to take it step by step. Now when you receive your unit, you just connect it to the main according to the, what they call a phase polarity, and just add a small load to it, 500 half a kilowatt. Is that because of the change of the wire? No, it's just the way it's been loaded in the coils. So from now on, when you receive a MagRav unit, the way it's been designed, you can just straight away plug it in, a small load of 500 watts, and you can use it. What we have seen in the school is that the system automatically has kicked in. We put one system in 6 weeks ago, and now we increased it to two systems, and we see literally I get a report daily from the electrician in the school who's writing a report every day. They take a meter at 1 o'clock lunchtime. So it's continuous the same. And yesterday we received daily report. Today we received daily report, and it shows we will reach about 60% reduction in the school electricity bill, which means by mid-June, it should be 50% of the normal, what they call electricity bill they pay. The school organization, in the back door, not in the back door, but in totality, belongs to a company, international company, which is testing it. And then the whole structure is connected to the government. So this is a test run for the government. They're keeping an eye on it. They have already made a lot of decision on what is coming in. We have received the first substantial orders to back, because even 10%, 20% is a huge amount of saving. It saves the country, when we go to mass in the country, something like a power station. You don't need to invest in. The same thing goes with China. Once the systems are spread in China, it's literally equal to one of the big dams they built for electricity. You don't need to build. The system supplies. So these are the steps by steps we're seeing. On the other hand, in Italy, we have received a very substantial order. This is a huge order. And part of the condition of this order to be completed is that we have taken over a house, literally apartment, and this apartment as of last week, is locked by SGS, by the inspectors. So we're running for 1 month the house with the same standard consumption. There is nobody living in the house. There's just fridge, freezers, electric heaters, everything is left in the house to run. It's sealed by the, by the inspectors. It's going to be opened up after 30 days. Then we install 2 units in the house, and then it gets sealed, and then they take a reading on the 30th and at 60 days after the sealing. So that becomes the backbone of the, total independent evaluation. The evaluation and the sealing is done by one of the most reputable, assessors in the world, SGS. SGS will write the report. They've been invited to do the evaluation for the company which is placing the order, and this order will create about 3,000 to 10,000 jobs in Italy alone. It's a very substantial. It's from a bank, a major bank in Italy, and will support. They have seen us. They have seen the work of the Maghreb systems, and they want to invest into the purchase. So the order runs in huge, millions of units. That's a surprise to you as Italians. Yeah, it creates a lot of business. The building has taken over last Monday. We've sealed it. Now it's going through its operation. And SGS will release a substantial report internationally for the EU countries that this is certified for what it is. On the other hand, the process is to show, even if we can save 10 to 15, 20%, it's a substantial amount when you consider a nation. It's a huge amount of oil import, and at the same time, we have installed the Maghreb car unit on the supervision of a government into a school bus, which now they take a reading for 30 days. The school bus does the same route every day, all the time. So it's well pre-rehearsed. They know how many kilometers it does, what they used to tank, and now what they tank in it. So it's substantiated soon. So in that way, we have a number of governments and organizations who moved into lining up for commercialization, and we've seen 2 substantial orders which are setting. We actually produced the first invoice. It's going to go out today for the first orders. And all these 2 major contracts goes to the Keshe Foundation Italy manufacturing. It's already been submitted and it's going through. So because they've tested it in the background, they know it's correct. Now they're placing the orders, but they need certification, independent certification, which is getting done by them. Okay, let's go to another point. What do you want to show us, Rick?
I believe we have something from Klaus. Is that what you're referring to, Mr. Kesh?
Yes.
Klaus, are you ready to
By
share?
the way, I have a news for you. We didn't escape to Dubai. We are back in Italy. Next time we escape to Africa, because we are supposed to start the Keshe Foundation in Nigeria, in Ghana, and in Kenya. By the way, before we go into things, I congratulate Dr. Water in reaching Kenya, and the Kenya Keshe Foundation literally as of this Monday has started. He will be heading the agriculture side of the Keshe Foundation. He is a specialist in this from the United States. He moved from state back to Kenya this week, and he's on a full, payroll of the Keshe Foundation, the same as Benjamin and Alex. Now we have the 3rd center, but these are running at a very high level at the governmental level. They go directly into the government because Kenyan atomic energy authorities were thought by Benjamin in Ghana, internally, and now that we are embedded in Ghana Atomic Energy Authorities, they have taken directly, so Dr. Watt goes directly into the structure, hopefully back to Ghana, and then to Kenya. That become, we are moving into the governmental structure as much as we are in the individuals. In Africa, we move with government, in governmental organization, as you've seen the report of the water treatment in Ghana comes from atomic energy authorities directly from their labs. It's not, and we have a freedom to reach data and everything else. There is something before we go in respect to what was disclosed on Thursday in respect to Fukushima. I've received a number of emails and I've seen people saying, how come Mr. Kesh up to now continuously emphasized not to consume GANs, and now we can consume GANs. First of all, the test is done on mice. It's not done on a human being. We still tell you, do not consume GANs. Secondly, if you're using the GANs, the material which we will commercialize is a specific way that is done through the water of the GANs. Thirdly, the products will be sold out of Japan as a complementary material, which is accepted in Japan to be done. And fourthly, the crisis in Japan is so high, people are so heavily contaminated that they do not mind if they take a few amounts, very little amount of cans to clear the system from the radiation. Number of the cans is increasing, so we can release it. We have heard up to this moment, even TEPCO people have been watching what we released, any objections from Japanese government. So we see the production will start in Japan in the next few days, and we commercialize mainly for Japan, for decontamination. But the way you have to understand, we still advise you not to take GANs directly. We are promoting taking off the water of the GANs, which should have the same result. You can bath in it, you can drink it, the way you do in the cups. And on the other hand, you have to realize every time you cook in a pan, aluminum pan or a steel pan, you're already consuming GANs material. You heat the plate up the way you do it, when you, especially if you're Chinese, in a wok at high temperature, you nanocoat it, and then what you add to when you fried your meat is salt and the water. So you immediately create a GANs of nanomaterial which you created inside in respect to the metals of the meat and the vegetables which you use in frying. So we are used to consuming a small amount of GANs, but now it's concentrated, deliberate to extract radiation and viruses. So we will extend on the knowledge, we will test this with the authorities in the coming weeks, that if and how you can consume the water of the GANs and what it does to you. So you don't need to take GANs to say how you change. We haven't changed mine. We just showed an independent research which is done by the government when we did the Fukushima trials. And as what we see and what is coming around the background, the information to us, the GANs was used and heavily is getting used in Fukushima for decontamination. It is a solution, and in the next few weeks, we will release data from nuclear centers. I'm in the process of asking Iranian nuclear industry to test the material for decontamination. As Iranian nuclear physicist, senior advisors, I have the position to ask for such a thing. So we're sending the materials to Tehran to be tested independently by nuclear centers, because if any of the staff or anybody gets contaminated by accident, we have the tool is made, is ready, so we can test it officially and release the data as we've done with the Atomic Energy Authority. We release the data from Iranian nuclear centers in this respect. But the other point is that what are other application of what we saw last Thursday? the application and the application is huge. I am one of those who supports, as a man who understands more or less a little bit more in the field of radiation and in the field of chemotherapy. I've been supporting the chemotherapy heavily. And because I always said, chemo works on the cancer is the side effect. The other conditions which are creating the problem. Now we can use the CO2 GANs as to reduce the side effect of chemo. So we are promoting, we are in talk to test the GANs of the materials in time with chemo or immediately after chemo, because we've done this test, we know it works. So the GANs materials will be tested by major corporations which promote chemotherapy, but for us to use the GANs the way we saw with the rat. Group of people who received the chemo and group of people who receive chemo plus the GANs, and we see if there is any side effect. And this we know now is a non-toxic material. Again, there is a position, as I explained in one of the writings on the internet. We see a very, very strange effect. They have given the mouse a ratio to mass of the mouse, the GANs of the material. If we get to that ratio with human body, then we see the potential of two directions to go. It's very much, as I wrote, it's like an aspirin. If you take aspirin below 80 milligram, it becomes a blood thinner. They give it to you when you have a heart attack and heart condition. If you take aspirin over 120 milligram per day, it becomes a painkiller. So now we got to find out if the GANs plays the same role. In small dosages, will clean the blood from radioactive material, and in bigger dosages creates a problem or creates another condition. We are looking in how the Japanese did the trial, how they fed the animals. And we're repeating it on the conditions people who have been given no choice but to try the forces on the mouse in a larger scale. So we finance a new set of test results to come up with the animal testing by the Keshe Foundation in the coming weeks, because it's worth to expand on the knowledge and how it can be done. The other advantage of this new knowledge is a lot of people nowadays receive a low dosage radioactive material when you go for different kind of health treatments or when you go for different kind of scanning, if they want to monitor the operation of the heart. And these radiations can stay in the body. So what we see now is immediately after the scan is done, you can take a dosage of CO2 and get rid of all the radiation from your body automatically. We prefer not to go in that extent at the moment. But we have a data, so we're working on the data in the background. You got to realize in the coming time, we have been given a hospital accommodation. One of the major hospitals in the country is being offered to us as a gift, and they are setting it up. And with it comes a research center. We will call upon doctors and scientists around the world to come into the center, into the health center, and we test every possible effect. The hospital is one of the most advanced systems set up. Will be ready sometime mid next year, so we have opportunity to go in now. And I had a meeting with the people who are concerned with this development, and we'll see how we bring all the applications of Keshe Foundation Health in this hospital structure. So, as I said before, if you're a doctor or a physician, please, if you want to extend the knowledge on the GANs or the plasma technology, and you have the time to spend a few weeks, few months, or you want to spend a full time in this new hospital which is coming in the working of the Keshe Foundation, will let you know. Then you go directly into the administration of the hospital through the Cash Foundation. It's the same way as we set up with other countries, the organization of it. So there is a huge breakthrough with what we saw last week from Fukushima. And please, those of you who just seen it, understand the test was on a mouse, not on a human trial. The problem which most of you didn't realize on the Thursday teaching, when it came up, why the Japanese tested on an influenza and a radiation. They had a reason. The reason for it is they have a large number of workers on the site, which they have no immune system because they work in a freezing condition of the water from the ocean, and most of them were catching flu. There was a reason for Japanese to test the two, radiation and toxicity and what they call influenza, because a lot of people who get irradiated, they lose primarily at the beginning their immune system, which causes the influenza, a cold condition. So now, with one thing, they solve all three in one go. This was very important. It wasn't just that they tried the virus. The virus is the biggest problem. A robot you use in the canals to shut the reactors or repair does not catch a flu. But the workers on site, due to receiving high doses of radiation, the immune system deteriorates and most of them come down with the flu. So they wanted to see if they can sort all three, if it's toxic, if it can help the workers not to take off because of the flu and cold, and it helps with radiation. So the GANS CO2 has helped in all three in one go. So in a way, if you have a flu, test the water of the GANS CO2, not itself. Some people say, what about if we drink from the cup of life we made? That is not the same. CO2 has a specific characteristics which leads into recovery of the tissues. It's part of its structure because carbon and oxygen, one is the communicator of the cells, and oxygen is the gravitational central point of the structure of the amino acid. So you've got to realize now we go into the depth of the knowledge in how simultaneously the two things can work. In so many ways, the understanding of the total disclosure last Thursday will take a long time because there was a lot of hidden information in the disclosed knowledge. First of all, we understand that we can decontaminate radiation from any water. If you live or lived across the big lakes in USSR, or you've been around that area, during the communist time, a lot of lakes have been fed from the wastage from nuclear power stations directly into the lake. They are highly contaminated, radioactively contaminated. I know this because I've been on these lakes. I've been taken there years ago to see what we can do. The level of radiation in some of these lakes is very high. So now we have a solution. How can we find a solution? There are a number of ways that this can be done, especially with the introduction of the GANs into the system. But you have to realize the extension of the application of the GANs. If you create or absorb the radiation, and at the same time, you create the right environment in the GANs of the environment where you're applying the GANs, you can lead to creation of life. If you haven't understood, I explain to you in a very simple way. There has been a big mystery of how and the way planktons have created, which become the backbone of the life in the sea, in the oceans. Planktons are created in a very simple way. We can take an example of it. If you look at the continent of Africa, if this is West Africa, every year from Central Africa, Sahara's deserts, we get a storm which is dust storm. It goes literally like the whole cross of the West Africa. It goes right the way through. If you lived in Gambia, in Ghana, in West Coast Africa, you know this. There is a season where this red dust just comes in. If you've been in Kinshasa, you see it comes in. And what does this dust do? It's very red in color. And it just goes across and it gets dumped over Atlantic Ocean. And if you look at the structure of the fish growth on the west coast of Africa, you'll find out there is a zone where most of this dust from the desert lands in the sea. Tons, millions and millions of tons of sand every year. I've been there, I've seen it when it comes. Literally, your sweat red. The dust is red in color, totally gone. The street goes red. And then what happened? This dust contains iron, and in crossing the ocean, on the surface of the lake, as now we understand, the surface of the ocean is covered with amino acid due to the condition of the structure of the sea. So what happens? Every atomic structure, every dust in contact with the amino acid, in capturing the fat more or less on the top of the ocean, in conjunction with the iron from the desert, creates the first hemoglobin, the first structure of life. That's why these part of oceans are rich in fish. Now we have solved part of the mystery about the life in the Atlantic Ocean and what we see life in this sky. We have the same scenario on northeast of China by the Japanese islands. We see huge number of planktons coming from northeast China into North Japanese Sea. It's the same process, the same condition. The snow brings with it the salt, the amino acid. On the northeast coast, there is a huge reserve of atomic structure iron. They get washed by the time they're there, by the snow melts, right temperature, they become beginning of amino acid and life of planktons. So partially we have a solution, and if you look at this and convert this back into understanding of the amino acid, radiation, and the ions which come in, depending on what level of radiation you can capture within the GANs from what you have extracted from the waters of the rivers or the lakes, you can start creating a condition of natural life. In a way, you convert the radiation into useful application for feeding into the oceans or into the agricultural section. This is a natural process. If you add the right amount of the minerals and the right amount of what I call GANs of a given structure, you can control what kind of protein, amino acid, hemoglobin you create that will lead to be absorbent or be useful for certain purposes. So now for the first time, by deciding on the GANs, we decide on the structure, we decide if we create the right salt condition on the hardness and the softness of the plankton too, because it's the structure of the fields which leads to the creation of the amino acid and hemoglobin. The structure change is very much, if it's the blood of a cow, the blood of the man, the blood of monkey, we cannot get the blood of cow and inject it to man, because the way and the condition the GANs and hemoglobin is created. Now we have a control. We can literally replicate any creature's blood according to what we use as a GANs and the condition of the creation of the fields. It will take decades for man even to understand what I explained in past 10 minutes, because our science has to develop in line with us dictating the position, the condition, the warmth, and everything else which come into our acceptance of life to start. Because now what happens, the speed of conversion is much higher. Here, the matter state has to become in conjunction, in contact with the salt of the sea, with the matter elements of the sea, with the GANs which is on the surface of the sea constantly getting pulled in to create a specific condition. This, in so many ways, if you go further, you will understand why we have a white, why we have a red, why we have a different texture of fish in the sea. Because how and where these planktons, in what condition acidity, the salinity and the amino acids created dictates what kind of fishes are created in different part of the ocean. Now we can replicate it. Now the access comes, do you need to have a tuna to kill, or you create a plankton which gives the life of a tuna, the structure of the tuna, without ever actually creating a tuna. It's now we understand more in depth, is part of the research which needs to be added in how these things will add up. The new release is very interesting. A lot of people complaining, a lot of report comes, because of the Fukushima, new type of animals are seen, a new version of different fishes are seen. Has the nature, due to interaction of the fields from Fukushima, in nano and in a GANs state of the waters of the, what we call Pacific Ocean, has created a new condition environmental for new creatures. New condition, new animals, new condition to live, conversion and mutation to be part of the essential existence for them. So are we creating, or have we created new versions of the same animals due to interaction of the gases and the radiation, and in them themselves creating new strength which creates a new condition? So the evolution in 3 to 5 years, we can do the same. It is very, very fundamental to understand what is on the table, what we are discussing. We are discussing, in principle, not genetic modification. We're talking about the before gene, before even becoming to genetic. Now we control the new creation, as you said.
New life is being created all the time in the forest of Borneo. They keep finding new life forms. I think it's just new life being created. I don't think
it's a new condition.
Yeah.
It's a new condition with the new environments, creates a position that we see new what we call creatures. Because now we understand how it's done, we can do the same. We can dictate the position of condition of the evolution. And this is what I said, when we go to space, now that we are getting into space, to go into space without food, we are creating the same condition ourselves. with receiving different kind of energies, more not in the matter level, we are evolving ourselves into a new creature where we don't need to consume. We only absorb what we need. We see people now, a number of people which are testing these things themselves, how they are evolving, how they are going back and forth between non-eating and eating because they still need confirmation of existence. Consuming food to us is confirmation of existence. When we stop consuming food and we can consume energy with other food, then we evolve. And we will see this evolution will be very fast. It will be in a matter of 12 to 18 months. We will see people will totally lose everything in respect to the matter absorption. Can you imagine no more pizza? Tell that to the Italians. And no wine? Maybe a sip. Do we create maghraf systems which are gas coated with the red wine from God knows where and the white one from where, huh? Then you don't need to have, you can have all the wines in one go as long as you don't get drunk. So this is the beauty of now understanding part of the structure. We haven't understood the totality of it, because if I explain the totality, you all will walk, because it's beyond the understanding at this moment in time due to the knowledge we have. In a very short time, hopefully in the coming weeks, we will disclose a magic system for reviving life, where we have done this before. We'll do it to repeat the condition, to see how we can allow a life to restart where the body has shut itself down. And we will video step by step of this using only maghraf system. In the other trials we used the plasma system in a different way, but this time we only use maghraf systems, which is very effective, and we will see if we can revive life in a very rapid way, because this will allow us to literally, if the data comes correct, if we get allowed to do it, which we think we should be able to get it, otherwise it goes back to the hospital where we start, will be one of the first things we do. If we can reorganize the information carrier in the brain, that most of the mental illnesses will not exist. One of the things which a lot of you are doing, and some of you have seen done by Jackie and Ali in Canada and Switzerland, is that they receive energy as food. Now, if you understand that level, going to the next level, what about receiving energy in a specific strength for restructuring the brain itself for its connections? What we call mental diseases will become non-existent. The same as you can take food from your star formation, I'll teach you in a way very soon that you can walk people through a tunnel of maghraf system in a specific condition. They come in with Alzheimer's on one end and full memory on the other end. These takes seconds. We've done this before. It's not something that it could be, you can imagine. We have returned many people's Alzheimer's back to total recovery, more or less. But then they decide to still play the fool, but you still catch them. You can still catch them. We got videos of them, so it's not a theoretical. But now with this system, you can make it very rapid. These are important because, as I said, the space technology, going into space means being able to use the energy of the space, the knowledge of a space the correct way. So we see, even with what we're going to be shown in a few minutes, hopefully by our people in Austria, these are the very basic crude systems which is going to be demonstrated. But in the long run, you can produce systems which can be used to repair, create a condition of, as you created mutation, you create a mutation in your own body to the perfection that you have not the disease. Very possible, a lot of paraplegics can be sorted with this technology. A lot of children who are born with lack of oxygen, and we see them in their teens and in 20s because of what happened in a few seconds at the birth. We can repair this. We've done it before, we do it now, but now more effective. So you can allow the points of brain which have not degenerated to regenerate and just live a normal life. It's very, it's done before. Now we can go with the speed of it. We can explain it. We can, in a way, we've gone beyond genetic modification. We've gone into the realm of the plasma and the magrab itself. Because a gene is amino acid based. Now we've gone to the plasma, which created the gene. The blueprint is the foundation of the amino acids, the foundation of genes. The genes themselves are protein based. So now we can dictate, if you understand this, we can dictate the structure of the protein. We've gone below gene level. This is a new style of life. It's a new science which needs to be developed. So do we give to people a plankton which has the energy of the neurosystem that in digesting that plankton as a gans will encourage the growth of brain cells, which was to do with the speech. You can speak as you couldn't speak up to now. Now we've gone below, far beyond the imagination of the present science, but it can be done by the layman on the street. Once you understand the gas and the space technology, you do it yourself, because in the space, you can do it yourself. Okay, Rick, let us see what we have, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kish. Klaus, are you ready to go with your thing there?
Yes, I'm ready to go, Rick.
Okay, great. And you have something you want to share on the screen share or video?
Yeah, screen share, please. I should start it. Okay. I just want to show you the improvements of the health unit before we start to build the next version. The aim was to create the body part very flexible, modular, and easy to use for a doctor in a hospital, for instance, without touching and twisting the nanowires. And I started to make the whole system more modular. And till now, our health unit consists of giving and the taking part with all the coils fixed and wired in parallel. And up now, I would like to have the systems very, very modular, so that we only have single units which consists of the double coils, and all of the double coils have to be single addressed. And all these units can be switched and given away and putting on the holder to address specific parts of the body. which would look like this. The giving part would be splitted into two parts, and the taking part would stay as one part. So that if we talk about the general setting, like we did at the last version of the health unit, the human body stands between the giving and taking part. All the coils are in parallel. But as soon as we want to address a specific point at the body, we could move the giving part, the back part, as long as we can pinpoint the parts we would like to address, and we also can remove the coils we don't need anymore. So we would be in such a health unit able, like with the helmet, to address every single part of the body. And additionally, of course, every unit would be very flexible in addressing the magnetical and gravitational and coils. We got this magnetical and gravitational and coils in the inner ring and in the outer ring, and so we would the doctor is able to address by using these cone connectors, which you can also call jumpers, and so you could set a unit maybe on gravitational or on magnetical a setting. There is also a second part, not only the direct addressable coils would be new at this new version. There would also be battery connectors with which you can connect the coils to each other, or the units with each other, or to connect more batteries to one coil in order to create the plasma flow. As cone connectors, I would use, as I also showed at the helmet, this as connectors, I would use these cone connectors. But as part of the teachings in the last week, there was a good idea coming to turn these cone connectors around, so that the male connector here is mounted, and the female connector is the one who can be touched by the doctors, and there is less nano-coated copper to touch then, and the female connector can also recoat it if it's necessary easily. So it would look like then, for instance, the standard jumper setting would look like this then. We got, first of all, of course, we have to number all the coils, also to be able to document it, which everything already has been done. And then the doctor has just to follow the connection pattern and to take his jumpers and connect, for instance, in the standard jumper setting, the points 2, 5, 3, 6, 4, and 7, and the 8 to the minus and the 1 to the plus. And then he got his standard device activating the coils like we already know it. But he could also say he would like to make a gravitational or a magnetical setting, and then he has just to move the jumpers a bit without twisting the wires, and he can create the certain conditions in order to target with giving or taking manners. This, of course, would all be able easily to be documented. It's done very easily in sheets. This is just an example how you can document a gravitational cone jumper setting. And as I showed the last time for the helmet. Now these improvements are the suggestions. So before restarting to build, in order to that's our first doctor here gets this new way of health unit. So this would be a brief overview about the improvements we are planning so far.
Question: or can I bring something new into the work you're doing? What you've done up to now is fantastic. But what about you're working with coils, the way the coil is set up? If you look at the structure of the maggrav systems, we placed a ball of GANs in the center of the maggrav systems. This is part of the essential part of the work of the maggrav system. What about, would you like to go to your first picture number 1, please, here?
Yes.
If you go to picture number 1, what about those of you who are developing the maggrav systems and you've been in the GAN system with the GANs balls? What about if instead of using coils, you two different type of GANs in these places, where we have no more matter component connected to the system. So you have produced a coil, which you effectively create a free zone plasmas here in the center. You have a telephone near you somewhere. So what about we just use a double coil with different ganses? One GANs which is pulling and one GANs which is giving. Let's say copper oxide in the middle or a lead in the middle and CO2 or CH3 outside. What about if we add a lead outside and CH3 inside? So we move away from the coil system. This is some of you who have a GANs operation. It's good to look at. This way, what you've done is fantastic. You control the plasma, free plasma. Now you can control, in a way, the structure exactly as you want. Here, the central plasma in the coils are dictated and create a field flow on the condition of the nanomaterial. Here, you create a condition with cancer state of plasma, with no matter state. It's a next step of development, and is one of the reasons we use the GANs balls as an energy supply in the center of the maggrav systems. And at the same time, it's a new evolution in understanding of plasma technology, because in a couple of researchers, we are already using this. Using a combination GANs in separate compartment, or maybe even 2 or 3 compartments, where you can put the GANs inside the GANs, and then you control by weight. Then you have no, what do you call, matter state connection. With a copper coil, you have a matter state connection. You still have that. But the GANs state systems then is a copy of the body of the man. You can take It's not getting rid of, it's addition to the knowledge. It's not that we don't do, but some of you who work on the GANs and you don't like to work with the coils, you can achieve the same property as what is shown here through GANSes. But then you have to do a lot of precise calculation of the field flow. Some of you have already done some of these in a very, very basic way through the GANS patches, but you never understood. A lot of you have created the GANS patches. Can I share the screen, please?
Yes, I stop sharing.
A lot of you have worked in a very nice way, but can we, I think we'll go for a new, we don't want to save this. What you've done, a lot of you, you already have done this in a very primitive way. It's time to move into the next step. What about a lot of you, what you've done, you've taken a patch and you fill it with CO2 or a copper oxide. What about if you can create 2 or 3 patches, each one with different GANs to be embedded? So in one container, you have different GANSes as a patch. Composite patches is the next step you can try, where you can literally change the condition of the body instantaneously. You don't need to mix the GANs together. A lot of people mix the CO2 with the copper oxide. Now, if you understood what's on the table, then you understand you can make literally sacks of GANs inside each other. But you have to understand how you do it. The composite GANs. As I said to you, do not go and put it out as a GANs, blah, 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 because you come up with it, we give you the knowledge. If you can see how to work, you can literally position your bags or your GANSes into the target. Create one heavier and the other one lighter that you can absorb and at the same time give. So what you do, you create a gravitational into the pack, and from the other side you feed it. The composite patches, if you do it, is one of the easiest ways to change a lot of conditions, especially with diseases like cancer. Now you dictate the composite, and you can do the same in so many ways from the back to the front, where you condition across. There is something which I have to explain to you, and I'll repeat it again. If you are using patches, this is the back side of the body, this is your spinal cord, and this is your spine, the vertebra. Never, under no circumstances ever, put a patch across here. You got to make sure, even with the setup we just saw, you have to realign that neurosystem, especially the main trunk, which is on your spinal cord, comes on the cover. Try to always work around kidney, liver, or whatever. Never concentrate on the spinal cord. So if you make patches, now create multiple patches. Patches of GANs, where you can create gravitational or a magnetical according to the plasma. This is very important. This is absolutely important for you, that you start building these systems to now start expanding the use of the system. You use the patch. Now insert patches inside each other. But you have to know what you're inserting is not floating, and you can control the position of it. But you got to remember again, if you look at the patch, if you look at the sideway, your patches should be floating inside each other. This is how you're going to get it. It's very easy. But so what you have, let's say, CO2 here. You have CH3 here, and you have your other gas somewhere here. The water settles to the top, so you only get gases at the point of contact. This is the behavior of the gas. You've seen it. The gas always goes to the bottom. So if this is the body, so you can literally make a size, and you know this is the amount, the field you can interact. I've seen a lot of people mixing different gases and say this is the gases. What does it do? Where does it go? Why do you have to touch everything else? Now, this is an easy way. If you don't have huge amounts of copper, but you want to get the same principle work, you can do it this way. You change the gases in different containers, and you apply it.
Mr. Cash, that's the water of the GANs or the GANs itself?
These colors are the gas itself, because the water of the gas will float up. The patch, when you set the patch, your gases will sit at the bottom of the plastic, and then the other one sits on top of it, and the other one sits on top of it. So you can create the condition, but you have to understand how you create the condition. I was talking to the spaceship team this morning, and on the other teaching on last week on private teachings, last Friday when I was here, it's very important to understand interaction of the fields and what do they give you. It's important to understand the interaction and composition of the fields. What do they give you? A lot of you up to now went and you have developed these star formation, a 3 set of them, as we've seen with Jackie, for example. And these are star formations. You have become, we put the center coils on the top. These are star formation. You have become the 4th system. And this is how you're feeding each other. You're feeding from it, from the system. Doesn't matter where you are. If you go back to the original teachings, part of the teachings, we always said, if you get your star formation the right way, the right composition of the strength, you should see tangibility. You should see, in a way, a structure of what you like to call it, spaceship. Look at the next step of development. You want, this is what you want. You looked at, and I keep on referring to, the 3 layers of the skin of the man, which leads to tangibility and what I call matter state feeling of the entity. What you have not developed into the step of is what is the relationship between the 3 layers of the skin. How the 3 layers lead to tangibility on the top as we see it as a skin. Let's be Martian. You become green. How does it do it? What is interconnection between the three layers? You have the three layers. You have already established the three layers. I haven't had breakfast. I don't have the strength to keep the pen. Food. Keep on dropping it. So, what happened? How is it created? It is the field interaction. But if you go back to the skin of the man, go for a similar situation. You have a white skin, you have a soft skin, you have a black skin, you have a yellow skin, you have a rough skin, you have a skin which is velvetish, you have a skin which is very rough, you have a skin which you call it the disease, which always happens on your elbows, and it's with you all the time, and then your knees, and then your knuckles. What do you call it? Psoriasis. Psoriasis in Italian. Ask yourself a simple question. How can a soft skin suddenly become so hard? What happens? How come in one layer, suddenly you get more of and thickening, hardening? How can you use this knowledge in your spaceship technology to create a hardened shell? What is the connection? Yes, Mr. Giovanni, yes. Now you understand. The body, if you understand this simple disease of psoriasis, teaches you how to make a field into a shell. You don't need to go very far. What changes it? What is or what does salinity has to do with the skin structure? There is a company in Europe which has understood this, but in a back to the front way, and they have become specialized. They specialize in the control of the salt content in the layers, especially the middle layer of the skin. By controlling the salt content in the middle layer, you can find out a lot of skin problem disappears. Because all they do, they create a condition where the tangibility and the hardness changes because of the salt. So those of you who have created this field, we've seen it a lot with Ali, and we see it now with people like Jackie, or the people who made the 9 combination, 12 combination star formation. They see the field. They feel to go through the field, but they can't make it tangible. So now, learn from your own skin that in one of these layers, you need to add an interconnection that can change the field flow in the layers. And then automatically you will have a tangible spaceship. But be careful, you can walk into it, you don't lock yourself out.
How do you get in?
How do you get in? Knock on the door. So now you understand that you come up this far. What is the next step? How do you create this tangibility? How do you create the condition of softness when you want it, hardness when you want it? Yes, think. Thinking is a good thing. I don't know, I keep on saying, this guy resigned, left, and he's back here again. There's no problem. He's still a student online, but I don't know where his line is. So, what is going to happen to us? We have to understand and learn from the nature we work in. A lot of you have randomly put the star formation in. If you look, I take you back to a knowledge. Go back and look at a number of times when a man has seen spaceships. You see 3 dots in the center, which is these 3 reactors. But these reactors are set in the structure of what I just explained with 3 patches, or the reactors inside what we talked about the medical sections with 3 balls. You create a condition in your coils or in your GANs where the interaction of only those 3 in the strength you want decide you're going to have an opening here because you organize the field strength here, that here is soft, but the rest stays hard. If you understood this, translate the knowledge back into a man who's got psoriasis on the skin. You put him under the system, you understand the composition of the 3, within days there is none. Because all you do, you change the field strength, which is the salt content between the 3 layers, and skin diseases disappear overnight. Because you changed the new environment. You created the condition of life as we spoke about the ocean and the sand from the desert. Each salinity in the ocean dictated creation of different animals, but it's the same sand and it's the same protein. It's the salinity which dictates the structure. It's the salinity in the water which gives you the structure of the fish. Where and how, what depth, what condition. Not the pressure, nor the temperature. Because gases are working independent of pressure or temperature. So the temperature of the ocean is totally irrelevant. We've seen in the new discoveries that animals live by literally on top of the volcanic eruptions, on top of the hot waters coming from the center of the magma. They're still alive, they still live. So gas is independent of the temperature or pressure, because on the depth of the ocean we still find life. But how the salinity creates a condition of the position of the fields dictates the animal in that position. So now the next step for those of you who are and have felt the fields, we've seen Ali and other people, they say they feel, they walk into the field. Now you made it. Now we are a step further. You feel you enter. Now dress it up. Skin it in a way that the condition of the field creates what I call the, what did you say? The psoriasis. You thicken, you thicken, you decide, it's the same as skin. If you change the field of it, it goes soft again, but then you can harden it. So we are more or less near the step of tangible physical craft. Up to now, you walked in it, you didn't know, you felt the energy. Now find a way to solidify it. Just on a given layer. I tell you what's going to happen to a lot of you. A lot of the crafts which you will see in the coming weeks will be feeling very funny. They'll be like this. You'll be like the brain of the man, more or less. So the crafts will not be so smooth. To get the smooth, it takes a little bit more work. Then you have to understand how you have to create the condition between your reactors, between the layers of your reactors, and then how you keep interaction between the middle and the outer in the center. To give you a tip, Keshe Foundation Innovation Center is already halfway through this by a few weeks. It's not something we just tell you. So the innovation people are already partially in this direction. They already have systems which is GaNs-based, which is more advanced than the coil-based. Brennan, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Cash, I'm here.
Would you like to show us?
I will call Clint, Mr. Cash, so that we'll have updated pictures.
Okay. Do you have any pictures from the
Yes, sir.
models you have? Could we see those, please? Can we get updated photos? If you can organize it for Thursday, then on Thursday we can go through it.
Okay, sir, I'll just open the picture first.
Do you want to share the screen?
Yes, sir.
So now you understand how the technology is on the verge of the spaceship you've been dreaming about. Now, if you understood how a soft skin, non-tangible skin, as an amib, becomes the skin of the fish. It's the same salt content, interaction. Does not matter the thinness. It's the layers of it which counts that it works. And because it's connected to the brain, you decide whether it's going to get thicker or thinner. So through your emotion, you control the reactor, and through it, you control the strength of the physicality. Are you ready?
A minute, sir, for
So what we see, in fact, is the next generation of spaceships, where it was a soft, like an amib, like a jellyfish. Now you can put a structure to it. But understand the principle and the work of the salinity in the strength of the skin. Don't go and put salt in it. It's going to be salt now. Understand what does it do. Remember one big criteria going back to the origin of all this work. We started creating nanomaterial using salt. We used the same salt in an acidic condition to create the GaNs. Now you use the same interaction of the salt in respect to the GaNs to create tangible matter state. This is the next step.
Mr. Cash, we can only see the flower at the corner.
Ah, it's good. So I go up again. You see, Giovanni, we got to move it a little bit. Can we move these are the flowers from the opening of the Keshe Foundation, Italian in the center. We tried to be here. We asked Giovanni, what time would you like to be present? He said 7:30 is good to come on Zoom. Well, we couldn't get the flight on time to be here. We arrived a few days later. Otherwise, we would have been here on the opening. But we couldn't tell no one. You see, this is very interesting. We escape from Italy and we come back to Italy and they still welcome you. What escape? It is very interesting. So what we said is, I write it here. You started a matter state, let's say copper, using an AOH to make nanomaterials. We used the nano using salt again in a different form to create GANs. Now you need to use the GANs in a specific condition, again using the salt, because it's the structure of the tangibility of life on this planet. You stay matter till you come in touch with the salt in a specific condition that makes you a GANs and gives you flexibility. That's all it is. The role of the GANs, the role of the salt on this environment is to change from matter state to plasma state. Now you have to find out how you can use this to become matter strength in a GANs state. Then you become the skin of the man. This is where you got to head for, and if you bring this hidden structure into your here in the interaction of your coils, you will receive tangibility of the matter of the body of the man. Because the salts don't exist on the upper atmosphere, we have transparency. You can go through it. We see the structure of the cloud, but still we can go through it because it has not solidified. It has not. All you need to do is literally, you took a matter molecular state into the separation of nano, and then you use the salt to make it open in a gas state. Now you have to find a formation to be able to organize these fields and decide on the gap between the gases.
Plasma in a matter state of skin is formed. Would that be able to go through matter?
Of course, because it's in a gas state. You can go through the walls, and say, you see, they can go through anything because now you're at a higher strength. Lower strength is not much problem to penetrate.
It's a different dimension.
No, it's a strength. It's different strength. So now those of you who created the GANs and you created the coils, and if you remember somewhere late last year, we got people to leave the house with Ali and coming back, they could feel it. People who set up the structure, they can feel walking into a field. Now, understand the next step and use the same as the skin of a man to create the psoriasis of your skin, to make it harder. This is the last piece left for you to have the confirmation of your own tangibility. We've seen a lot of people using coils and coming up with a lot of rubbish on the internet. This got nothing to do with the Keshe Foundation work. They talk to it or they talk to them and the rest of it. It's a good gimmick. But it's nothing to do with the work we do. This is the fantasy of the brain. But in reality, if you can control it, now you can literally see motion and movement. We've seen with one case, physical movement due to interaction of the fields, which has led to this. So people who work on these, what I call GAN-based structures, you could have done the same thing on the fields in the star formation with the coils 2 years ago, a year ago.
Mr. Keshe, this is Bernie. We're ready to share the photos.
Okay, go ahead, please. Bernie from the Innovation Center in Philippines. what we explained about the GANs in going a step further than the coil has been on the card. This is the new structure with the system control of the spaceship with the GANs materials. Would you like to show us more, please? Fabio, we're getting multi-pictures. Okay. You see, we are now more advanced. The Innovation Center works on the different technologies. The work, what we call the black work of the Keshe Foundation. We call it black budgets. We call them very bright. But this is what is the step. You see double GANs inside a tube, central tube with the GANs, with the balls. Would you like to show us more and tell us what you have achieved up to now? What has been the results? Bernie, could you explain, please?
Yes, Mr. Kesh. This week, we're able to experience a much stronger field that it forms like a hat. The field is just
like what?
Like a hat.
Hat?
Yes, a hat.
The one
just
you put on your head?
Yes, with a circular structure extended around and one above, which covers the head. I'll show you the whole structure for the setup on Clint's house. Here's another photo. Okay.
You see, would you like to expand to open it up? You see here, we gotta open the picture. Okay, what you see, these are 3 GANs balls, mixture of GANs in 3 balls, one in the back. That's your top. This is the ball strength and the gravitational and magnetical ring. We passed tangibility of copper. So now what the Innovation Center, or you got to do is to, you see this sitting on the glass water upside down. This system needs an additional salt strength field for it to bring its tangibility into operation. Does not need a coil. You can do the same thing with the medical system. The Innovation Center has been working for a few weeks on this. Now they can show you it's not a drawing, it's a physical system. And
okay, Mr. Kesh, I'll share another photo as described by Clint in a drawing, the formation of the fields, the pressure. I'll share another photo.
Okay, please.
This one is what Clint described. Okay, you have it. The arrow represents where Clint put his hand, and this line here represents the pressure pushing against his hand, and the lines represents the strength. The longer the line, meaning the stronger the pressure pushing against his hand. When we put our hand on this area, these are the balls. These are the 3 GANs balls. When we put our hand here, we can feel this field as an outline, just like a firm pillow, but you cannot see it.
Now you have to solidify that halo.
Yes, we have to. I think we lack the 3rd GANs because we are only using 2 different gases here. And in the middle, there is a strong uprising here, a strong field rising up here. So but when you put your hand, if your hand is lifted up,
it gets lifted up.
Yes.
Okay. Now, would you like to explain? If you don't want to, it's no problem. the experience of a guy who was sleeping near one of these setups?
Yes. The guy was sitting on it near this near the setup on the kitchens near the kitchen side, and the bed is on the living room. He was relaxed, so relaxed that he lie down on the bed. He's not sleeping, but just relaxing while listening to some audio. I think it was an audio recording of the teachings. Then suddenly he felt this pressure on his back, on the mattress, that lifted him up above. We asked him how far, near the ceiling, and this, because he doesn't know what to do. He was surprised, and he was afraid that he cannot be able to come back to his previous state. So that moment, that's being surprised. He got panic, and that pressure moved him back to that lower level, and he did not fall down, but returned back to his previous state. And I believe later on, he also experienced, he also had another experience, but this time he is in control already, and I believe it was like a dream, but he is awake. The feeling of pressure, I believe this is the same as here. I can imagine that pressure that he's just feeling that time. I believe this is it. This is the middle part. But the mattress where he lie on also with him at that time when he lifted up above the ground, above that area. It was that moment that when he's at a relaxed state and there was nobody else in the room. This is what we've noticed when this setup is left in a room with no disturbances for a long, like last week. Clint and the rest in the house were having a vacation, so for the whole week there was nobody in that room. When they came back, the field is much stronger, as described in this drawing. It's much stronger than before. I was there also before. That would be last week when Kent asked me to verify, to make sure that what he is feeling or what he is noticing or observing is true. So I went there before Clint have before the house is emptied for the whole week. At that time, we're able to correct the positioning of the balls and the ganses, and indeed, what Clint described were also experienced by myself. And this is the same, just the same like this drawing. And this time, after a week of no disturbance, no physical disturbance inside that living room, the field is much stronger. I can describe it just like a soft but firm pillow, but you cannot see it.
What you need to do,
Yes.
what you need to do now is to give a tangibility to this through the right strength combination, the 3 layers. I can't do it. It doesn't give me, oh yeah, it is there. What you got to do now, once you create, can you expand? Once you create this field, the field inside will have its own independent pressure. You have to physically close it. So you need to understand you're literally on the edge of not feeling, but giving the field strength and tangibility. Understand the structure of the salt in the 3 layers. What does the salt do? Don't look at the salt. Look at the gravitational magnetic field, the strength of the interaction between the layers. Don't get tied up with the matter state of it, but understand the game salt plays. Look at but you always remember amino acid connection. This is how the magnetic gravitational field of the salt plays this game. And if you understand more of this structure, you will understand. Can I have the screen back, please, to share? If we go back, understand this. What is sodium? Yeah, what is its atomic mass? 22. What is the atomic mass of sodium? 22. I don't know. Anybody know? Pardon?
23. Sorry, 20. Yes, 23.
Understand how in one combination you achieve the hexagonal shape of your skin. If you create an exact, precise condition, do you need your middle layer to be made of the GaNs of sodium? That, as we know, the GaNs cannot sit on its own. It has to be in the water, in liquid of the water. So, is the key, the secret here itself is the GaNs of sodium in the water, in the GaN state. Not NaOH, but Na in H2O in a gas state. Mostly water. Because the craft you produce has to replicate the level of control of your own structure, which is the salt content. This is one of the last keys before you start seeing the tangible, elusive, according to the man's eye, the strength, the matter of the GANs of a craft. So we are not very far from actually achieving to create that cluster, what we're looking for. And you've seen Innovation Center is heading it very rapidly. If you go back in so many ways, Marco showed you the beginning of this in the balls of cancers, but in the solid state, nearly a year ago in this building, for the first time we showed. Correct? You remember? So it's taken us a year to come back to what Marco started 12 months ago, 14 months ago in Trent.
Nobody tried it, except for now.
Now you understand how close you all are in respect to the elusive condition of creation of changing the soft field to a hard field, which itself it becomes a containment. If you go back deeper, let's expand the knowledge in a totally different direction, in a parallel way. So we go this way. Look at the plasma of, let's say, Earth. Earth's central core, the Caroline core itself, is a plasma. In creating a specific gravitational magnetic field, it has the capability to generate water. Because that's all it does. It creates gravitational magnetic field of H2O. In a liquid state, becomes water. Water doesn't rain in. It's created by the field of the environment. But in this water, due to the condition of go back to nitrogen. If you look what we just explained, nitrogen is 14. Carbon is 12. Oxygen is 16. Two carbons gives you 24. But don't forget, we keep on speaking not about the atomic weight, we're talking about gravitational magnetic field strength, which is slightly different than atomic mass as a matter state. And then, very simple. Add hydrogen to it. If you go by atomic mass measure, so your CH3, if you play it the right way, can behave and give you the property of sodium. Is the intermediary CH3 without using the salt if you cannot create the gas of sodium. That's why sodium plays a specific role in the body of the man and all the creatures on this planet. If you want to look at it, the carbon in the gaseous state is dynamic. You never get two of them together, but they share field strength. Oxygen is the same. In the molecular structure, plays the same game. You have 12, you have 16. On the matter state, and more or less, if you want to play it, just about 9 to 11. Here, what do you have? 6 to 9. You understand? Oxygen with a carbon and a hydrogen gives the gravitational magnetic field of sodium. So, if you do not have sodium, you can still use the GANs of created yourself. Because in so many ways, sodium at 23 itself is around about 19, somewhere between 17 to 19 on magnetic strength. And if you look, 11 and somewhere in that region, 6 to 9, gives you a flexibility of different salt strength. So you can replicate, without having the salt, the field strength of itself. Or anything else. But you have to understand more that you're not dealing with a matter state. Matter state gravitational magnetic field is locked because of the structure of the molecular interaction. The fields are very tightly locked. That's why you've got molecules. In a gaseous state, it's free. So you don't have that gravitational field strength. So you have a room to play if you know how to change the matter state or how to change the salinity. In so many ways, part of the iron in the circulation of the blood creates that condition, brings that field, the strength. That's why the diseases like cirrhosis are connected to emotion, because that field strength can be mimicked as a composite by the iron. You got to understand how. It's a certain point, is not all the same, because you look at the iron, maybe around the 56, 57, and then look at the possibility of the range of it, and possibility of range of sodium, or what you understood here, multiplied by 4. Four times, let's say, 14, 4 times, which is the nitrogen replication, it gives you ion behavior. Because in the amino acid, you have nitrogen. If one of the strength is between to the top and the bottom, it gives you 14 times 6, 56.
Any element in combination close to sodium-free sodium?
Yes, you need the behavior of the sodium. You don't need the sodium. That's what happens. Yeah, this is what happens in your skin. The emotion creates the condition of salinity as a strength, not the sodium itself. This is what I'm trying to explain. A lot of you think you're going to use a sodium. Doesn't matter. So the emotion, the strength through the field, don't forget the nitrogen itself was part of the structure of the upper atmosphere of the earth, where you created at the outer age 16, inner age 14, and the center is nitrogen. That's how the amino acid is created. That's how our environment pushes the creation of life on this planet. It's not that you cut in one go. This is what I explained in a lot of teachings in the past. This is the earth. This is the sun. You don't create only nitrogen. You create a spectrum of materials according to what has gone through and what is left. And then these elements themselves in the gaseous state interact too. And if you look at it, if you understood what I just said about the water, then you understand how the earth creates its own crust. It's just the field strength in reduction. So if you look, the gravitational field strength of the planet dictates the softness of the components. You have a rock, you have a sand. Why the sands only appear in certain areas? And why do we have a rocky area? If you change the field strength, you make the GANs of it, you make it structured powder or solid. This is what you got to understand. This is 16, this is 14, this is 12, and hydrogen is created somewhere near. So the position of the sun and the earth and the strength of their magnetic field interaction leads to creation. Has no choice. That's what is the residual left. If you rub your hand soft, it's very easy. If you rub it harder, it's the same as the field. You create more heat, more friction. So that's the same position, interaction of the fields. So earth interaction of the fields created inside it in respect to the sun leads to the creation of the amino acids. It's no choice. If you change this, then you get different. But when you bring the salt content, which is the interaction of the two extremes, in field, now that they're the GANs, is what we call salt. Not necessarily sodium. As you know, there are 12 different types of salts in the body of the man. Because if you get the higher order in this way, and interaction of these, it's potassium salt. Now you understand how you can use the amino acid in your tanks, in your CO2 kit, if you understand it, to give tangibility to your system, to have a skin you will see your spaceship. And it's only applicable to the inhabitants of the earth because it's part of our structure. Because it's made by us according to our emotion and the strength. So, if you understand this, now that you have a start feeding the fields, you see how it was explained by Rennie as part of the Innovation Center. They have no coil. Now they play it. But go back to the beginning, back into the Sansano time, and Rick has made the first ping pong balls. When I told you, you can all on the verge of building a spaceship, and also he tells us and he doesn't do it. You didn't see it. I haven't changed anything. What we just seen with Vernie is what we seen with ping pong balls 2 years ago. And I told you you're ready, but when you don't understand, you have to wait till you understand. And now the intellect is there that you see, if you go back to your original reactors, ping pong balls, you still can create, if you mix it the right way and don't push it to rotate it fast, your own spaceship. This is why, if you go back into the teachings and the videos which you put live on the internet, in the Sensano, the reactor was moving up and down because the field themselves internally were creating conditions. If you remember, the plate was moving circular. The field, we could paper underneath of it, or it was tight, we couldn't do anything, and it was lifted, and it was changing. So, in fact, we saw the first lift in the Sensano. But you wanted tangibility because the loading was not according to what it should be for the interaction of the field to create tangibility of the matter state. So, past 2 years, we always said the system is ready to go, but it's when you don't see it, I don't teach you because it means you still need to learn. Now we go back. This is like the new movies. They show you the last frame at the beginning, and then they show you the whole movie, and you see the frame. Now you've been played the same game. So if you understand field gravitational point, if you understand the composition of the fields, how you can create, then you understand. Most of you who went through the process still can go. Mr. Rick Crammond, the speaker of all the chats, all the teachings, he has a reactor. If he understood, he made the first orange pink balls and the rest of it, he's ready to fly. He's ready to create the first spaceship. Because the minute, the instant you create, the instant you create the tangible barrier, the system becomes independent. Now you fly. The minute your skin is made, you're an independent entity. You can walk anywhere. As long as you don't make that, you're a liquid, you float anywhere, you're just the energy. Yeah? So now if you understood this, and you can create that field of tangibility like the skin, you're done.
That entity needs to be fed.
Pardon?
That entity needs to be fed.
It feeds itself from the field the strength of its environment because it has to confirm its continuity of its existence. It's you who dictate it. How much to give, how much to take. So the minute now this tangible, this what just Bernie said, you can feel the pressure because you have not put a cap on it. You need to create to put a cap. The minute you put a cap, then you're an independent entity. Then you can fly. Now you are a plasma source. You're going everywhere. Now, if you can create that salt condition, in a way, the salt is the connection between the three layers. Your layers now are not stacked on top of each other, are sideways, and they're equal between the three, and you have a top core which dictates the salt content. It gives it the shape. Remember what I said. It's the top coil which dictates the salt content. More or less. So now you see how close we are, and we said by the spring of this year, 2017, you will have your spaceship. Some people will move toward this very rapidly. All you need is to soften certain fields internally for the external fields to harden, to give the transparency of tangibility of the matter. then you will walk into a solid thing. You can't go in. When you start building it, you'll find out there is no entry. Just try to make sure you can get in your system. Would the Italians do it first? I hope. So this is where we are. This is what the technology is heading for. And very soon, all you need to do is harden the shell. The fields are there. If you understood the concept and understanding of the connection between the three layers, you have three reactors, you can harden the shell. Maybe. Possible. Any questions?
It looks like Renan is trying to share the screen, or that's what we have up as the screen sharing right now.
You can take me off and let him share.
It's okay, Mr. Cash. It was supposedly a while ago, so there was a delay in my system. And Bernie shared it already. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully, Brennan, you know what you got to do with your team.
Yes, sir.
Do you understand what is involved now?
We have complete ingredients, and
Pardon?
we have already the missing ingredient ready, and soon we will put it on the star formation.
Thank you very much. So now you can see, you feel the pressure, you feel the fields that you can think and eat from, and now you can give it tangibility. In a space, if you want to taste the meat and chew it, now you know how to give it tangibility. But you have to understand the environment which you expect the matter to manifest itself, and this is the key to your understanding.
Mr. Cashier? Mr. Cashier?
Somebody's trying to say something.
John from
John.
Yes.
Sorry, you have to, John.
Rick, you're becoming very fuzzy.
Sorry, John, you're going to have to mute you because you're coming through very poorly on your microphone there.
I've changed my settings. Is that all right now?
That's better. No, it isn't. No, we had the same problem last time. You're going to have to work it out separately because it's way too much noise. People that are listening on a high-powered stereo system, it blows their system. They have trouble with that kind of noise coming through.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Kish, this is Klaus again. Concerning the health unit, we got a project here running with a doctor who is waiting for a health unit and some other devices. Is there, concerning the health, is there a difference in the results of the two systems, the coil system and the Gansball system?
No, really, shouldn't be any. But with the GAN system, you have different interaction speed than the coil system.
Okay.
It's all the same. We have to develop the full spectrum of the technology, not just doing one. What you're doing is nothing wrong with it. It's fantastic. And it's the way that now most of our scientists can understand. They can relate to. But now we are using in what you have shown and in conjunction with what has been developed into the next space, which is the spaceship technology.
Okay.
You see here, if I go back into this, here we did with more or less solid matter conversion of the sodium. Here we dealt with the liquid condition of it as a acid, more or less. Here we're dealing with the gas state of it. It's three different stages of the same material dictating tangibility. Here at the top is a solid, the middle is more or less in conjunction with what is where it is the liquid state of it. In acid, we go from one to another, and then here we operate under the gas strength of the same element. So there is nothing wrong in this space. You need understanding of full spectrum. This is what I said from the beginning of these teachings years ago. By the time you become man of space, you will understand the totality of the structure of the creation. And that's what it is, from matter when you want it to the GANs and the energy when you want it as you want
it. This is John again. My question was why some people can't eat without having salt in their food, and others just don't give it any dice, don't bother about salt at all.
You got to see what is their salt content in their body. If you don't need it, you take it. If you go to a lot of coastal areas, the consumption of the salt is very heavy in all their foods because you need the salt to absorb the moisture for it to be able to have salinity and flexibility of the gans of the muscle tissues and the whole structure of the body of the man. This has a different reason than why we don't take. If you come and live in south of Italy, the food is literally saturated with salt. We're on the coastal line. We evaporate a lot of water due to the heat, especially if you go to some Arab countries, the amount of salt in them is so horrendous by the coastline, is because you need to absorb, create a condition that it can attract H2O. That it keeps the moisture, it keeps the salinity. It's that water in the gans. As you take the water out, the gans becomes more solid, less flexible. You need to keep that moisture, and that's what it does.
Mr. Cash, is Wartang.
Is who?
Wartang from Australia.
Yes.
How do we increase the load?
How we could we what?
How do we increase the load?
What load?
As in to take out more energy from the reactor.
I think the master in that is Vernie. He knows how to do it. You got to understand a plasma has the same strength, doesn't matter where and what. It depends what condition you create for it to encourage to release more of it. And if it increases more strength of the higher strength, then you increase your load. You don't look at the mass, you look at the magnetic field strength. Do you want to increase the gravitational of it, or do you want to increase the magnetical of it? This morning in the meeting with Ali and K1 in the spaceship team, I said to them, I'm going to explain this afternoon. You better listen if you want to get the system tangible. Because don't forget, Ali is doing a lot of work in Canada. He's changed his system. People are sleeping under it. They feel the fields. But now he's going to trap his people inside this cage. So this is how you do it. This is how you increase it. But as we said, just we heard Vernie talking about one of the team floating. is because the field in the center is so strong that it has expanded. So anything which comes, which is a matter state, it lifts with it. You missed a couple of points with what was said. The first time, the guy lifted with his sheet because the strength of the floating of the field within the system, with the interaction of the matter state, it releases the pressure into the matter state. Doesn't matter how thin it is. And the next time is a mattress. So it means the field has got stronger than the sheet. So it means, if you understand what I understand from what they said in their simple explanation, next time is totality. If you go back, Bernie, you're there. If you can go back to your explanation, if I remember correctly, when he was lying, he was lifted with the sheet under him. He could feel the sheet. Am I correct?
Yes, Mr. Kesh. The mattress is still there.
Yeah, the mattress. The second time, the mattress is there. So it means the field is growing very soon. If they build it, then the field strength between the two will create the dome. What is outside and what is pushed from inside. That's all it is. So the field inside are pushing enough that they are strong enough to push the matter state. So the state of the lift is already achieved. Is conversion. All it is, if you look at it, as Verdi said, when they put their hand on the center, they can feel the push, because now is the Gans state with the Gans state of the matter, because the body is Gans state. So the field goes through. In a matter state being stronger, tightly packed, but weaker, the push lifts up. So we have already achieved the first lifts. And it's through the system, which is only GANs and not coil, which is the structure of the universe.
Is the system still caustic coated, the glass and the balls?
Yes, why? Now you all go and pack one by one, come up with the original idea. You don't need to nano coat. The glass has one of its properties. Crystal is better. If you can buy crystal glass, you look at a different proposition much faster. This is what I said in a very, very beginning of the teaching 2-3 years ago. Crystals are a corner, and that's why we show those crystals. But people still haven't got the idea, so we leave it till they understand. The crystal points, which we referred to a few months ago, and everybody run. Direction of flow. It's the direction of flow. The reason we create that hexagonal center is how the energy can escape from it in respect to unit. It's not just because it's hexagonal. It's the amount of field it can radiate out and keep what is inside, that it gives its tangibility. Slowly, slowly, everything is coming together. Said, by summer of this year in the spring, we should see the first spaceship. But doesn't mean you're going to get on it, because if you make it solid, you can't go in it. Now, you have to remember how to keep a key that you can enter your system.
Mr. Cash, concerning the health unit, there would also be the crystals a good part to pinpointing special points of the body.
Yes.
If they are filled with GANs.
You see, part of what you can do, if you understand the structure of your system, gradually you will, the doctors will, if you have a very good doctor, he'll take you through it, is let's look at cancer. Let's look at the cancer cell in the body. You created a condition, a plasmatic condition, which is more or less like this solid body. The field from your system going through it, but it can, because it's in GAN state, can go through it. It literally takes part of its energy with it. So gradually it doesn't have the strength of a matter state in the GANS condition of a tumor. These systems which you have built are one of the most, if you can organize it the right way, for blood cancer. Because if you can make it homogeneous and you can walk through it, the blood cell, cancer cells are slightly different but very weak because they're sporadic, and you can just pick them up. You can do the same thing with viruses in the blood. The system you created, you can convert it into the gas state system, then a coil system, then it'll become very good for all kind of viruses if you got in your body. Any other question? Now you solved the mystery of your spaceship. Try to make it. Boom. The first Italian, you had the Ferrari, now you have to make the Ferrari a spaceship. Huh? Depends how fast it goes. It's a long way from the chariot. Huh? In the space. You just don't see the legs of the horse in the front. Any other question? I think we have taught enough for today. It's a lot of knowledge if you understand it, but don't forget the emotion of the man is the backbone of the space travel in tangible state. The emotion of the man is where the physicality will take hold and where you can soften or increase or decrease it. So when you make these systems, do not forget the signature of where you came from, planet Earth. The signature of Earth is the amino acid, the strength of the life of the man. You cannot make a system, as we've seen with the Innovation Center, where the amino acid of the body of the man has not been considered, because then it becomes foreign to you because you are not part of it. So when you set up your spaceship, when you set up to bring it from the field into tangibility, understanding the work of the three layers, then understand at the end of it, you exist through the existence of the amino acid. So it has to bear a signature of your blood, of the origin, where this structure as a human body came from. If there are no any other questions, we close it for today. And if the man understood, he has built his own spaceship. Maybe Rick can go back and load up his reactors with a different combination, and he still find his spaceship, and Armand will do the same. And the Iranian Space Agency understood this a long time ago. They already made the spaceship.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Maybe it's time to revisit the past, let's say, and the circle comes around again.
Maybe it's what you call back to the future.
Yes, right.
The car you wanted to create, it was said it will be done by 2016. Maybe it's time to make it. Thank you very much for today. We call it a day. We meet back on Thursday morning. And maybe we can get enlightened furthermore. We know there are some more results coming in from Ghana. We might have some news from Kenya, and we hopefully see the first clay reactor. Now, for the first time, I wrote to Alex. Alex, are you online? You see, Alex?
There is an Alex here. I'll promote him. I'm not sure if it's the Alex we want.
Alex has built the first clay reactor with a coil inside it. It looks very nice for people in Nigeria. And I said, can you imagine in 1,000 years, people will find these things and say, can you imagine, man, 1,000 years ago, knew what a coil is? I hope by then we have gone further. Thank you very much indeed for today. We might see the clay reactor on Thursday teaching. We call it a day. Thank you very much. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Rick.
Hey, thank you very much.
Picture. Rick, I have the picture if you want. This is Alex.
Which picture?
Okay, sure, we could show that as
show that. Yeah, the clay reactor. This is the human reactor made by clay by Alex. For native Nigerians, that's how they create their energy. You want to share?
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. And this is it. It's pretty amazing. Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah, we can see it there. It's great.
It's coming up. Yep. If you see the coils inside. If you can enlarge it, and it looks very, very big. Imagine now we find things from the pyramid and say, imagine what they knew 6,000 years ago. Now we see another one from Alex. You just got to put his name in it, like United Nations with the disc in. This was made by Alex, such and such a day. Came from planet Earth. Thank you very much. Thanks for the pictures. We'll see you back on Thursday morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you. Thanks, Rick. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Cash. Thank you, Rick.
Ali, could you stop the screen share? You've got your Zoom account. Thank you. Okay, good. All right, so that's it for the 11th International Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Tuesday, March 29th, 2016. Lots of information there for people to dwell on for quite some time, I think. And thank you, everybody, for attending. We'll end the live stream now.
Am I online?
Ah, I hear a familiar voice, Mr. Kesh.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, as usual. Whenever, wherever you listen to these teachings. Have you got your camera on?
We've got just the screen sharing right now.
Yes. Fabio, can you change? Yeah. As we usually say, welcome to the teachings, the public teachings at Keshe Foundation. We are back in Valletta. We have done our job in what we call Dubai. We are here for a few days, few weeks, and then we go back to Dubai for the conference, and then on to other locations. As we said, it's not important how and the way we teach, but how you understand the teaching. I see a lot of development in the past few weeks while we've been away from here, from home. As we know, Italy is our home base, so we come back home whenever we finish in one destination to the next one. And it brings a lot of knowledge and the strength to see how the development of the technology has taken shape, especially in the past few weeks. We are on the verge of the second and the third manufacturing companies around the world to come into operation, and at the same time we are on the path for teaching centers. As you know, last Sunday the Italians teaching started with Giovanni here, And now we go to the Chinese, and I hear German and the Spanish are online. And if any other nationality and language you want to teach, collaborate with the foundation. We give you the platform to teach in your language. Today, as usually, Tuesdays is the International Teaching Day. We look to see if there are any developments in other nationalities in other countries. And is there anything for us today, Wins or Rick? Have you set anything up? Do we have anything to show?
There were a couple of things that we had in place. We have Klaus that can show his health unit.
Who?
Klaus from
Germany. From
Yes.
Yes.
And we have we had a meter reading from Abby Joe that has from the golden age of GANs showing a reduction in her maggrav and so on. We have Peter, who's got a project he's working on. He wanted to show his progress in that. There may be others that are willing to contribute here as well.
Okay, let's see what Klaus done, and then we go to some teaching. Would you like to share these first? Do the video, what do you call it, from the golden age of GANs entry.
Okay, let me get that lined up.
Pardon?
Let me get that lined up here. Have it as a.
Okay. And then, as you know, if you set up any chat room or lines of discussion about plasma GANs technology and maggrav technology, which is partial, is very impartial, and actually shows the whole structure, how and the way you develop for people around the world, develop different aspects of the technology. We support you. We give you a platform to share the views and the knowledge. And Golden Age of GANs is one of the platforms which we support, because they release information as it becomes, as people see they like to be known, not necessarily on a Facebook forum. So I think this is one of the entries on the Golden Age of GANs. Would you like to share it?
Yes,
or?
that's correct. Yes, just a second here. Like that. Okay.
You have.
Shows all my Facebook and groups and so on, but that's the only way we can show these Facebook things.
We don't see it on the Zoom yet.
I shared it on the Zoom.
See it on live stream, I presume, and Zoom.
Is it not on Zoom now? It shows.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to write this, please? Read it for us.
Sure. Okay, so this is from Abby Jo Ovitsky, and she says the meter reading today after 18 days of connecting a working maggrav shows a total of 46.7% reduction in consumption of grid power compared with the February-March of 2015. Source: my meter, my photograph, my electric bill. Today's reading is 42,704, and 10 days ago it was 42,518. This time last year I consumed 34.9 kilowatt hours per day on average. In the last 10 days I consumed 18.6 kilowatt hours per day on average, 46.7% less. Feel free to check my maths. And she shows a picture of her setup here and so on. There's various comments about that. She also mentions it's 5 degrees colder this year than last year, So she's actually using more heat, but at less kilowatt hours per day. And
just wait one sec. Just wait there. There's another colors. Let's say it says interesting. I had 9.3 kilowatt day. Now 2 maglev running at about 6.7, 6 to 7 kilowatt. But in Germany, I have a 3-phase system, so I'll have to build a third maglev.
there's a series of comments after that as well, I see, after I expanded it out. It's a different class, it's mentioned here and so on than the other class.
Yeah, but we are running now 2 direction. It's okay if you want to take it off. I can give it some information.
All right, good, thank you.
Yeah, we are running now 2 systems around the world. One system is called 2 unit.
You are structuring it. And from today, we will be still the same. We'll still develop the technology in different names, in different colors, in different nationalities which they do not exist. It is beautiful when we see the Christian, the Muslims, the Jews, and every other belief are working together to build up systems. We have already become one faith. We already have become one nation, and we already become one planet. You got to remember one thing. Dates is irrelevant. Today is the last day of the Christian calendar, or tomorrow is the beginning of another. One day is connected to another. We don't stop. We are working round the clock. The Keshe Foundation team is working irrespective of time, position, religion, country. And now we achieve what we set out for.
You're invited to partake in the creation of humanity's first Universal Community Council on April 21st and 22nd, 2016 in Dubai at the One Planet, One Nation, One Race Conference. World leaders and prominent business persons have been invited to attend. However, representatives of the council will be selected irrespective of language, race, creed, or position in life. The council will have many responsibilities. It will support the people of humanity and their governments. It will help bring balance across the globe and unite humanity for the benefit of all mankind. It will act as a bridge between humanity and the universal community. The cost of admission to the conference is €750, which includes 1 seat in the main conference room and 3-night stay in one of Dubai's prestigious hotels, 2 persons per room. Discount airfares are also available. The One Planet, One Nation, One Race Conference. You're invited. We hope to see you there.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the 11th International Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We will be here today with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation and hearing about the latest in the international scene for the Keshe Foundation. And I think Mr. Keshe is he ready to go now, Vince? Do we have him lined up now? Okay.
In the school, a very large school, and we have seen this school has a huge chillers, what we call air conditioning on it. We have seen the first month something around 20% reduction with 2 small units in the whole of the school with very large air cores. Consumption now is about 580 kilowatt per day, and they have reduced by 20%, 20% with the total of the school days and holidays. It has, according to the accountant of the school, saved them 30,000 euro in the last month. Just two, what do you call it, 2 fans. 2 fans has been connected. I have to explain to you because apparently it's causing a lot of problem with a lot of people, is that when you receive your MagRav units, you set it up to condition. The new MagRav units, you don't need to set to condition anymore. You can just plug it into the main and connect it to a 500 watt, what do you call it, load. You don't need to reset the new MagRav systems anymore. You don't need that 20 days, 21 days of resetting. You can literally, the minute you receive it, plug it in and add a 500 watts, no more than 500 watt load, and your system will start working from that day on. You don't need to condition anymore. The original system we did because we collectively were working on it, we allowed a lot of people to take it step by step. Now when you receive your unit, you just connect it to the main according to the, what they call a phase polarity, and just add a small load to it, 500 half a kilowatt.
That's because of the change of the wire?
No, it's just the way it's been loaded in the coils. So from now on, when you receive a MagRav unit, the way it's been designed, you can just straight away plug it in, a small load of 500 watts, and you can use it. What we have seen in the school is that the system automatically has kicked in. We put 1 system in 6 weeks ago, and now we increased it to 2 systems, and we see literally I get a report daily from the electrician in the school who's writing a report every day. They take a meter at 1 o'clock lunchtime. So it's continuous the same. And yesterday we received daily report. Today we received daily report, and it shows we will reach about 60% reduction in the school electricity bill, which means by mid-June, it should be half, 50% of the normal, what they call electricity bill they pay. The school organization in the back door, not in the back door, but in totality, belongs to a company, international company, which is testing it. And then the whole structure is connected to the government. So this is a test run for the government. They're keeping an eye on it. They have already made a lot of decision on what is coming in. We have received the first substantial orders to back, because even 10%, 20% is a huge amount of saving. It saves the country, when we go to mass in the country, something like a power station. You don't need to invest in. The same thing goes with China. Once the system
I'm not getting the audio coming through on my Sunflower, so let me recheck the share again. I did check the share sound, and let me just try that again.
There is no sound there.
Let me see. Can you hear that sound? Okay, we'll try that again then.
You have people listening from every corner of this planet. No knowledge has been dispersed so beautifully, so balanced across the planet, on this planet ever, maybe in the universe. You have the full potential of achieving everything in the universe. There is no need and there is no reason for man not to achieve. So, wherever you are, the way I taught you to make the coils double coil inside, you have continuous equal gravitational magnetic field, and if you put CO2 on it, and you put zinc on it, you have connected the emotion of the man to it on a stable condition, and you'll find out you become a very peaceful man. Here, instead of having galaxies and universes and creating connection magnetically, we have used the matter state gravitational magnetic field strength to dominate and dictate the shape of the plasma. The nanotechnology, the nanomaterial which you have collectively developed in different ways, by caustic, by electric currents, by whatever, fire or whatever, has that advantage that the matter, the nano and the plasma is all the same. So connection is very solid, it's very strong. The power of the plasma technology, the way we have thought, is beyond imagination of the man. Now you can create and control the plasma, which is the mother of the creation of the universe. You are given the seed of the essence of the creation. The foundation does not belong to no one and is not made of one anymore. You are developing it